What
Yes.
I am saying is that there's even more room there for Steph,
Dude,
if he's able
we
to
just
do it.
saw
So, all right, hold on.
a
McMahon,
peak
real quick.
Steph performance, and you're like, it's like you had a
telling you.
delicious meal, and you're like,
Just-
the
well,
world
just wait a
wasn't that
second.
great.
Here,
Man,
wait a
you're
second.
missing the point. I'm not
No,
saying
no.
he's gonna
Stop.
he's gonna play better.
What is the more? Hold on a second. Let's just drill down on this. Like, he had probably the greatest game of his career in Game 4.
Hello, and welcome to the Hoop Collective podcast. We talk about the NBA, which we're doing Sunday afternoon here in San Francisco and Sunday early evening there for Mr. McMahon, who I'll introduce in a second. But first, Tim Bontemps and I are in the Chase Center at very expensive, undisclosed locations. Right, Bontemps?
I mean, I'd say this entire building is a pretty expensive location, but yes, we
That's
are.
true.
We are both here in different areas, hanging out.
We are both here in areas that neither one of us will be at during Game 5. We would be summarily dismissed from these areas if we would try to get in during Game 5.
Banned, if you will.
It ain't the locker room. Not banned from here yet, but he was on thin ice in the Western Conference Finals. Joining us from Dallas, Texas, is Ben McMahon.
Howdy, partners. I'm curious to see what happens when Bontemps raids the bar behind him post-pod. Wendy, I know you refrain from such activities.
They do have some vittles in here for tomorrow night. I'm speaking Texan. They that I could dive into and potentially face charges. I've become very fond of Ime Udoka press conferences during this last 6 weeks, and today we had another excellent one where this series is so much now become about Steph Curry, and he didn't actually shrug his shoulders, but he metaphorically shrugged his shoulders when asked about how great Steph Curry has been. He was like, yeah, they're averaging about the same amount of points each game. It's really more about our offense than anything else. And he was asked about, the Celtics, decision to remain in that drop coverage where when Steph comes off those screens, they're big men. Sometimes their big men come up a little bit, but in general, they're giving him space. And he's like, yeah, we're pretty happy. Well, he didn't, these aren't his exact words, but I'm summarizing. He was like, yeah, it's pretty good because the Warriors don't ever care about the roll man who sets the screen. They don't even worry about him. So it lets our big guys, be out there to defend Steph more. And so, I would just determine the Celtics situation as relative to Steph Curry as unbothered. They're looking at it and saying, hey, the Warriors averaged 115 points a game against the Mavericks. They're a pretty good defense. They're only averaging 105 against us. They shot 51% against Dallas, 52%. They're only shooting 44% against us. We're doing just fine. And so this is a thing, Steph Curry, I know that this sounds crazy. I think he can shoot even more. I'm not sure he's going to be able to score more effectively because he's shooting 50% overall, 49% from three. Bontemps, I think he can take even more shots if it's there. I think the Celtics are willing to let him do it. I think the Celtics are gambling that Steph is not going to keep up this shooting percentage. And even if he does, they think it's winnable. And I think there's even more room for Steph Curry if he's got something he can do to even give more.
I mean, this has been your take for a few days now that Steph was not playing great. I've won that argument.
How's it looking now? Do you think he's playing? You think his output is increasing at all? You think he disagreed with that viewpoint?
Let Bontemps finish his bad points.
I think Steph's been playing pretty great the whole series, given he's 24 for 50 from three. It's pretty good. As for shooting more, I mean, look, he's already averaging 12 and a half threes a game. I think it's a little hard to expect him to shoot more than that. And I think you're right, but I think the point is at the other end of it. It's what we've talked about really going back all the way through the playoffs. If the Celtics don't turn the ball over and don't give offensive rebounds up and extra possessions to Golden State, the Celtics are the better team and they will win these games, sort of irregardless of what Steph is doing. I think that's more the point. Steph had an incredible game in game 4. He had 43 points. The defense was totally panicked every second he had the ball on the court. Didn't matter where he caught it.
I don't think they were panicked.
Well,
I think they were.
Okay.
I think they were like, okay, this is what we're willing to give.
I mean, I would not say that we're willing to give up these shots to Steph. I think they would say he's making incredible shots. I think
they were. I think they obviously everybody thinks they can do better, but I think they were like, all right, these are the shots that we want to make and take.
But you're right. You're missing the point though. What he's talking about is if they don't turn the ball over and give up free possessions to Golden State and transition points, and they don't give up offensive rebounds and extra possessions to Golden State, it doesn't matter what Steph does because they think they are going to have enough to win the game regardless, that it's on them to play better on offense. So I don't think that's what I would say. Yeah, Steph could maybe shoot more, but Steph is.
I don't think I would term it. It doesn't matter what Steph does. I think what he's saying is what Steph is doing is survivable. Is what he's basically saying.
Here's the thing, Wendy. I was with you through game 3 that Steph had not played great by his standards. Doing a lot of work there consistently through the first 3 games of this series. Game 4 was arguably, I'm going to say probably, the best playoff performance of his career, considering the performance, considering the stakes. And I just think it's crazy for you to the Celtics aren't happily giving Steph open looks. He's having to work for every single look that he gets. So my point is, you're like, he needs to shoot more. Dude, do you know how hard it is for Steph Curry when basically he's the one guy out there that they fear offensively to get up 26 shots in a game?
Right.
And
14.
That's the seventh most of his playoff career.
I think you're missing the nuance. I'm not saying
Literally.
I'm saying there's more room for him there.
I just don't think that. I think you're literally looking at what Ime said from the opposite end. I think what he was saying was, if we do what we need to do on offense and we don't turn the ball over and we finish possessions defensively and get rebounds, that we are in control of winning the game. And it doesn't, if Steph is going to do his thing. That was what he was saying. That's a different thing than the Celtics are okay with what Steph is doing. I would disagree. He's causing their defense to scramble all over the place, and they're in a fire alarm every time he's got the ball.
Of course.
But if they don't turn the ball over, it won't matter. That's what he was saying. Not that I don't think to expect Steph, who's having to create every shot for himself, who's hitting half his threes when all of them are basically pull-up attempts. He's getting no catch-and-shoot looks. He's getting no clean looks. They're all difficult shots. He's just the greatest shooter of all time by an exponential degree.
Yeah,
that
all
it's
true.
not. It's so that to me that what he's talking about is what we have said time and time again. Don't turn the ball over. Don't give them extra shots. We win the game. That's what he's saying.
That's what he's saying. That's what he is saying. What I am saying is that there's even more room there for Steph,
dude,
if he's able to do it.
So, all right, well, hold on, MacMahon, real quick.
Steph performance, and you're like, it's like you have a delicious meal, and you're like,
just wait a second.
MacMahon, you're missing the point. I'm not saying he's going to play better.
Hold on a second. Let's just drill down on this. He had probably the greatest game of his career in game 4. What would you like him to be?
The greatest playoff performance of his career,
he had the greatest playoff performance of his career.
I would
just
the most meaningful performance of his career.
Yeah, okay.
We just watched, and you're like, we need more. We need more.
So hold on.
But you're missing the nuance. I'm not saying that he's going to shoot better.
Sucks.
Brian. What we're asking you, you keep saying we're missing the nuance. So what can he be doing more that he didn't do in game 4?
I'll make it real simple. He took 26 shots. I think he can take 30. I think he can take 32.
But he's only taken 30 plus shots in a playoff game 3 times in his career. You don't think
he's never been in this situation before.
Dude, yeah.
So
he's working his ass off to get up 26.
It's hard to win the title. It's hard to win the finals.
I think this is just a completely ridiculous backwards look at
this. Let's take a step back. I thought there was a chance that after Steph beat them that way in game 4, and as they looked at 4 games worth of data and said, damn, Steph's shooting 50% on threes. He's killing us. Support for this podcast and the following message comes from Supercuts. Let's face it, life is busy. Between work and family and more work, our to-do lists have a way of getting longer instead of shorter. Luckily, Supercuts is here to make at least the haircut part of your life easy. Supercuts is perfect for people who need a haircut but don't have a ton of time for a haircut. No more scouring the web for salons with availability. You can use the Supercuts app to find the location nearest to you and check in, or just walk in. Another bonus, the salon shows estimated wait times, so you know exactly what you're in for. That way, you're only in salon when you need to be, and don't expect to stay a while. As for the cut itself, it's always super solid, thanks to Supercuts' highly trained stylists. Get in, get out, and get to that thing that you needed a haircut for. Whether you've got a big presentation coming up or a wedding, or you just need some upkeep, Supercuts makes getting a haircut effortless. It's not just any haircut. It's Supercuts. Check in now on the Supercuts app or on supercuts.com. Maybe, Clay's not really doing much. Jordan Poole is kind of up and down. They're playing Draymond less minutes. Maybe we should think about breaking the seal and going to the double team. That's one of the things that I thought we might see happen in game 5, is that the turn is that they're not going to let Steph continue to put the gas down on the pedal. And Steph today, I mean, again, I'm paraphrasing and surmising. This is not exactly what he said, but he was basically like, look, they've got their defensive strategy. They think it's going to work. Good luck to them, is basically what he said. And so what I'm saying is, I then went in today and listened to what the Celtics said. And in fact, they're not going to do that. It doesn't sound like, at least. Maybe it's a smokescreen. They're not going to send the traps. They're okay with the way things are going defensively. And so I'm just saying, if they're still not going to send the traps and there's still going to be that room there, I think Steph can even be more.
Well, but that's the thing though.
But no. What you're saying is he can't score more than 43 points. And I'm not saying he will. I'm saying there's even more there he can do.
No, but that's,
and if they're going to win this finals, they're probably going to need even more from his offense.
What I would argue is he's not getting open shots now. He had maybe 2 open shots all of game 4. Mm-hmm. He's just making insane shot after insane shot after insane shot.
Which is why the Celtics aren't going to change, which is why there's more there.
The Celtics, well, okay. I think you've just looked at this completely.
It's funny that you say that, because when Steve Kerr today was asked about how he looks at his half-court offense, he's like, we're getting good shots. And
their half-court offense has been hot garbage the entire. Their half-court offense has been garbage the entire series. They're winning the 2 games they won. You created this condition goal, condition green thing, right?
Mm-hmm. That's true.
What is condition? Absolutely. What is condition green? When Jayson Tatum has 7 or more assists, when the Celtics have 15 or fewer turnovers. When they've done that, they're 2-0. When they haven't done that, they're 0-2. That is what Ime Udoka is talking about.
But it's both, Tim. It's both. We're talking about 2 different ends of the court.
I just don't think it is both. I think that it's if the Celtics take care of the ball and they move the ball and they don't let the Warriors get 100 offensive rebounds, they will win 2 of the next 3 games.
You are describing what the NBA Finals are going to come down to. What the NBA Finals are going to come down to is the Celtics saying, Steph, we're going to play this style of defense, and we don't think you're going to be able to beat us over 7. And Steph is saying, especially starting in game 4, Steph is saying, challenge accepted. That's one end of the court. At the other end of the court, the Celtics are saying, whatever Steph is doing back down there at the other end, God bless him. If we just take care of our business down here at this end of the court, we're going to be okay. And then there's all kinds of shades of gray within that, because who the Warriors are putting out there, specifically at the center position, is a big key. for sure. But I mean, look, you guys were giving me weird looks after game 3. Keep giving those weird looks, dude.
Dude, I was on your side after game 3. I'm just saying Steph delivered. He delivered the ridiculously high standard of performance that we were asking for. He delivered. And I'm saying if Steph goes 40 plus efficiently, when he does that, the Warriors will win. We can talk about anything with it. Also,
he might have to go 40 plus inefficiently.
Okay. The other thing,
I'm not saying for the 5th time, I'm not saying I think he's going to shoot a higher percentage or that he needs to score 55. I'm saying he's leaned into it already, and he might have to lean into it more.
No, he's got to create a ridiculous amount of offense. No question.
And I'm just looking at the lay of the land here. I'm listening to what people are saying, and I'm looking at the lay of the land, and I'm going, dudes, this might get even crazier. Maybe that's why I should have started this podcast off. If I was like, guys, this has been amazing, and this might even get more amazing, because you guys have taken a stance that I can't possibly be right.
We've taken a stance that you're a ridiculous basketball snob. That's the stance we're taking.
That's not yet. I mean, you've been saying insane things about Steph this entire series. This is
how
just
are they
another.
Looking? How are they looking?
I don't understand what your point is. It doesn't make sense.
Can I say something else?
I'm trying to understand it.
We can talk about condition gold, condition green with the assisted turnovers of the Celtics. We can talk about Steph. I think game 4 also reinforced something else that we expected coming in this series. If games are close, the Celtics will crumble. And that was an 100%. All-time clutch crumbling. And then, dude, Steve Kerr made a really gutsy decision. Not to pump Draymond Green's podcast, but I thought the way that Draymond reacted to that was pretty fascinating, down to where he's talking about a guy like Juan Toscano-Anderson is in his ear on the bench, basically being like, dude, this ain't the time to be worried about individual stuff. And what Steve Kerr basically declared is Draymond's minutes and his, clutch minutes, that's a game to game decision at this point. He did go back to him with the 3 minutes and whatever left. Draymond did deliver some big time plays, the kind of plays you expect Draymond to deliver in those situations. I think if there is any doubt that Kerr will still ride with him, at least in that kind of, in the last few minutes, just because, hey, Draymond has proven himself as one of the great winners of this generation. But man, what a fascinating little spin that thing took when Kevon Looney has been absolutely awesome in this series, in these playoffs. And Stats and Info had a really fascinating stat. The Warriors are rebounding. They're getting 55% of the rebounds with Looney on the floor, 45 with him off the floor. As much as we've talked about how this series comes down to the possession game, turnovers, rebounds, wow, Looney tilts that thing about 10 possessions per game.
He's been massive. Massive.
He played about maybe.
I got it right here.
How many more minutes did he play in game 4?
In game 3, he played 17 minutes. And when he wasn't in the starting lineup, I thought this was an insane decision because I didn't think he was going to, and I still didn't think it was good the way it worked out, but I thought he was only going to play 15, 16, 17 minutes again. He played 28 minutes in game 4. Like you said, MacMahon, he's
plus
been flat
21.
Out, plus 21. He's been flat out better than Draymond Green in the series. I thought it was huge that Steve Kerr went with him for that stretch. Draymond came back in and was clearly motivated and played very well those last couple of minutes. He had a huge couple possessions with about a minute and a half to go, setting up what I think it was Steph or Clay hit the 3 that put them up 6 to win the game, put the game away. But I thought that was a huge call by Kerr to do that. Looney has to play 25 or more minutes, I think, every game going forward, because like you said, this series is going to come down to the possession battle. And if Boston can win the possession battle, Boston's going to win the series. And if Golden State wins it, I think Golden State's going to win the series. That is the whole thing. Turnovers for the Celtics, offensive rebounds for the Warriors. When Looney's on the court, he was, as you know, from the Dallas series, he was unstoppable in that series. He had 4 offensive rebounds again last night. He had 11 total. He is just an absolute monster on the glass. And that's going to be a critical thing over these final 3 games.
And he can finish around the basket, which Draymond has failed to do.
Well, Draymond can't do anything anyway on the court offensively. Bontemps, I think Draymond's minutes went from 38 to
33. Okay, 33.
Okay, so, and that was 5 minutes, were the 5 minutes in the fourth quarter, basically. So that's big. And I'm not sure that they can ask more from Looney in terms of minutes.
Right.
And so
No,
that's
28,
why
if he plays 28 every game, I think that's really good because he's busting his ass. He's going after the boards, but he can't be playing 16. Like that's just not going to be enough.
Right. So I think Looney, I'm not sure Looney can give them more in reference to our previous conversation. I think Looney is hitting at the max that he can do. So I think the reason Kerr switched the starting lineup is because he wanted to have more flexibility for Looney minutes late, and that ended up working. And the bottom line is he can't play Looney and Draymond together late in the game because the floor spacing is bad. So, I mean, I just think in general, it's a very interesting series. I mean, not only that it's 2-2, but that both teams kind of have the way that they're trying to play and they're trying to ram it through, trying to hope it works. But one guy we haven't talked about that I think is a huge factor here, we talked a lot about Steph, is Jayson Tatum. So
I think we can all agree Jayson Tatum has more to give. I think we can all agree on that. I don't think there's any argument there.
And that gets to the guy I wanted to talk about, who's Andrew Wiggins, who has been the primary defender on Tatum. I'm not saying he's the sole reason that Tatum's been so inefficient, but I definitely think you have to give him his fair share of credit. And Wiggins
also 16 rebounds,
career best in
game 4. Massive.
And you talk about a guy who has kind of redefined who he is since he's been traded from Minnesota. Minnesota, the number 1 overall pick, Maple Jordan. He was so hyped for years coming in the league. Obviously, a huge disappointment. And let's be honest, was basically considered the talented loser when the Warriors got him.
Yeah, he was always having 20-point games in losses.
He was considered an empty stats and empty calories kind of guy. And he has, I did think it was a joke. He was an all-star starter. We've made our fun of that. But man, I give this dude credit. He has become he's become a great complementary player playing with and the culture's obviously helped him, but he's taken the challenge defensively, which is something that definitely wasn't happening in Minnesota, and become a really good, he's a top, I don't know what, 10, 15.
He's a very solid solid two-way wing player. There are not very many of those in the NBA. That is a massively valuable thing. And to have a guy who can guard Tatum and Brown, the only guy really on the roster who's capable of guarding both those guys, who can play the 4 and get inside and get on the boards. He was massive in that department in game 4. He hit a couple huge shots later in the fourth quarter of that game. It sounds demeaning to say he's a solid two-way wing. Every team in the league is looking for solid two-way wings.
Yeah, he's become a very good two-way wing. And
he's a really good player.
He's worth the money that he's being paid this season for sure. Listen, if you are a guy who's playing that type of minutes, that important of a role for a championship team, you're worth that money.
Look, he played
He's worth the money they're paying him this season.
He played 43 minutes in an NBA Finals game. He played 43 minutes in an NBA Finals game and was plus 20. That's
it was great. It was awesome.
Where would the Warriors be if they had D'Angelo Russell making the same money instead? They wouldn't be here.
Home.
Yes, they'd be home.
Cancun.
Well, I think that's clear. So in this series, he's shooting 43% overall and 30. Well, I'll kick it up to 32% from 3. He hasn't been super efficient offensively, but he's been very effective, a very effective player. Kind of like, Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole's shooting 43% overall in the series, 36%. Oh, it's okay. And he's gotten a little bit better as the series has gone on. And look, if in game 5, Jordan Poole gets a little bit loose, because we know he can, he's ignitable, and he hits, 5 threes like he did in game 2. And Wiggins is able to, instead of shooting, in the low 40s, he has a game where he's much more efficient and he shoots 50% in addition to his defense, and removes the pressure from Steph having to do so much for them offensively. I mean, that is the formula for what the Warriors can have to win 2 out of the 3. Here's those guys helping them.
Here's another SIG stats and info group stat for Andrew Wiggins. Jayson,
cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless, now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan. That's unlimited high-speed data and 5 gigabytes of hotspot for just $45 a month. Get nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. So why pay a whole lot for your data when you can get unlimited for a whole lot less? The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
Tatum's 12 of 36 with 3 turnovers when he's the primary defender on him, which obviously is the majority of the time. So his offense is like almost, I don't want to say it's a bonus because they need him to be probably their number 2 scorer, but when he's doing that kind of work defensively,
Well, in a series like this too, it's less to me about efficient offense and it's just more about generating offense against the Celtics defense for them to just
that's
get
what I was saying
20
about Curry. I got yelled at for saying that.
Well, your point did make a lot of sense to me and to McMahon. So at least you're outvoted on the pod. Maybe the listeners will disagree. But
Wendy would tell you he outranks us just in terms of our combined IQ versus his big brain.
That's definitely what he would say.
I'm not saying I'm smart. Okay, here's what Ime Udoka said about Jayson Tatum's play today, and I'm going to read the transcript so I have the exact words correctly, because I think he had an interesting take, and like I told you, I think he tells the truth for the most part. Not always, but for the most part.
He does the vast majority of the time for sure, more than just about any other coach in the league.
With Jayson, sometimes you equate missing shots to playing poorly. What we've seen is he's had some really good looks, especially in game 1. And we knew if he got those same looks throughout the series, he would be successful, which, by the way, is kind of what they said about the first half of the season, wasn't it, Bontemps? Like,
I mean, he was just about the unluckiest player in the NBA from a shooting luck perspective in the first half of the season. So that is certainly what they were saying.
Right. Back to the quote. They are trying to take him out and guard him with 2 at a time and don't want to give him specific matchups. What he's referring to there is they like to switch, but they have been resistant to switch when Wiggins has been on him. Now, sometimes it does happen, but Wiggins has been given the instruction, do everything you possibly can to stay on him. Back to the quote. At times he has to be a playmaker. This goes to what we've been talking about. In the 2 wins, he's had 13 and 9 assists. He's down around 5 in the losses. I think he's got a little bit more than 5. That's maybe about right. So what basically Ime is saying is just because he's shooting 34% doesn't mean he's playing poorly. And I guess that's a fair statement, but what we're basically saying is what I said about Steph after game 3. Jayson, if you want to win the NBA finals, you have to be better. And I don't think he's playing like a dog. Although his second half performance in game 4, I mean, the expectation from him is really high at this point, as it should be. He's a first team All-NBA player. If you want to win the NBA finals, you just have to be more. You have to be better. You have to give more. It's not a referendum on you as a person. It's not a referendum on your career, but this is really hard. They're playing against a really experienced team. It's the highest level that you can get to in the world of this sport, which he has devoted his life. He's just got to execute better. That's the bottom line. And I mean, he knows that.
Look, last pod, we were talking about him in comparison to Dwayne Wade, as far as being the best player on a potential championship team at that young of an age. That the standard's high. I mean, go back to D Wade in that 06 series against the Mavericks, and people in Dallas were still crying about officiating, whatever. It was still absolutely dominant. And we have not seen just a, full blown, absolutely dominant Jayson Tatum performance, the type that people will be talking about a decade from now, 2 decades from now. We haven't seen that yet in this series.
Well, look, on 2-point shots in this series, Tatum is shooting around 25% from the field. I mean, that's just not going to get it done. And as Ime said after game 4, he is driving in the lane a lot of times, trying to get fouled instead of trying to finish. And so he is then either throwing up shots that miss and is causing runouts the other way because he lays down on the ground for a minute and then gets up, or he gets in trouble. He jumps off his feet. He flings the ball in the air. Like, he had several terrible passing turnovers in that game too. Yeah. And to Tatum's credit, he is, oh, you got it there. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Here's what he said. So, he was asked a question about maybe, and this is something, it's not just doesn't just happen to Tatum. It happens to a lot of young, high volume, guys who have the ball a lot, high usage players, where they just hunt fouls. And it drives the players crazy. It drives the fans crazy when there's doesn't appear to be consistent calls. And that's the nature of basketball. You go in and the officials differentiate between games, sometimes even between quarters. But here's what he said. Apparently Ime Udoka said to him that he's playing off 1 foot too much, which he's equating basically you're playing off balance. You're trying to force fouls. So here's what he said. Coach said playing off 1 foot and look for fouls has not been working in my favor as much. So I think playing off of 2 feet and attacking angles instead of trying to initiate the contact and things like that. And it's a game tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it. It's 2-2. So not necessarily thinking about what this means for my career, but what I'm thinking about trying to accomplish right now. And so I think, again, when we come to these practice days and we listen to what these guys talk about, some of them are very savvy and they're putting up a front and trying to create diversion. Some of them don't like talking to the media, so they don't say much. But some people describe what's going through their head. And Ime earlier was describing what he was going through his head. And he was like, they're scoring the same. When Steph had 43, they put up 107. When Steph had 29 or whatever, they put up 105. Like his point is, whatever, we're handling it. Here's Jayson Tatum revealing what he's thinking here, which is I'm getting out of balance, literally out of balance. And I need to stay more on balance. And so he is telling you what is in his personal scouting report. Now, is that going to work? Are the officials going to give it to him or whatever? No, but here you are hearing what he's thinking about. And he obviously knows that his efficiency has got to be up. And the thing about the assist thing, I do think he's done a much better job as a quote unquote playmaker over this last season. It definitely, his ability to create for others, the difference between him being on my first team all NBA as he was this year and not, I think is because even on nights when he didn't have his outside shot going, he could set up for others. And I think he's done a decent job of that, but he just overall needs to be more efficient because he is on pace for having the most turnovers in a playoff run in the history of the NBA. And as Bontemps said, the turnovers is everything. And so as we're watching Steph go up against that pick and roll and how he attacks that on one end, at the other end, when Jayson Tatum, we should probably be paying just as much attention to when Jayson Tatum gets going downhill. Does he get off a good shot? Or does he try to hunt for a foul? Or does he try to dribble through traffic? Or does he try to throw a pass that doesn't make sense? Because Jayson Tatum, it's not just those missed shots. It's when he's handing the ball to the other team. And that, as much as whether Steph can stay this efficient, is potentially what this could come down to, McMahon.
Yeah, I do think the difference is Steph is the lone guy on the Warriors right now who can carry an offense in a finals game. I mean, Jordan Poole, he's certainly flashed brilliance as a scorer. He ain't carrying an offense in a finals game. Wiggins isn't. Whereas with Tatum, I mean, Brown has proven that he is capable of that. But so, I mean, the Celtics, though, I mean, they've got to feel pretty good about the fact that this thing's tied up 2-2. And
I think they're really disappointed it's not 3-1. I think they
I'm saying
he was
despite the fact that Tatum has, despite the fact that Tatum has not really had the kind of performance, and it's not like he's not capable. This dude went for 46 on the road in a winner go home game 6 in Milwaukee. We've seen that he is capable of doing it against, in the most important moments against the best competition. He just has not done that in this series.
Yeah, look, I mean, Jayson Tatum, to give Brian a little bit of stick, we can debate about how much more there is from Steph, but there's unquestionably more from Jayson Tatum. And a lot of people assumed, I had to give a prediction. I picked he'd be Finals MVP. He ain't Finals MVP or even in the conversation through 4 games. And he just has to be a lot better. And he is a guy that does bring it on defense every night. He does help in ways like that. But when you look at the turnovers for this team, a lot of the time it's when Jayson gets out of control, when he starts hunting for fouls, he gets up in the air, he starts throwing the ball. That's when Boston gets in trouble. And I thought it was an interesting point that he made about playing off 2 feet, because if you're going in off 2 feet, you're a lot stronger in your base. You're going to go through contact and you're going to try to score instead of getting up there and kind of flailing. And that's when he gets into trouble. So I think I'm going to be really honed in on that tomorrow, because it's reductive, but if they just don't turn the ball over, the stats speak for themselves. They're 14-2 and 0-7 when it's 16 or more. Like that's it. Like that's the whole thing. They can't lose the possession battle. They win the possession battle. They win the game. Keep Looney off the glass, take care of the ball. They have to feel great about their chances.
And then, like Wendy mentioned, a lot of times when he's in there and he's out of control and he's flinging it up, that can functionally be a turnover. If he's flailing, he's landing in the third row and it's 5-on-4 the other way, that's essentially a turnover. Now, if Looney's not in the game, it might be a putback instead of a turnover. But yeah, so
what happened? There was
we'll see Tatum at his best at some point in the series.
There was a moment, I think it was in the fourth quarter, might have been in the late third, but it was in the fourth quarter where Draymond got a putback. And I'm not a putback. Draymond got an offensive rebound at the rim, and he was actually kind of open, and he turned and instead fired it out to, I believe, Wiggins for a 3. Wiggins got a wide open look out of it. He missed the 3. I was like, good decision, because I don't think Draymond would have made it it wasn't a wide open layup, but it would have been in some traffic. But
there was another one earlier in the game when he did try to go up for a putback after Steph drove and missed, and it's there's a lot of long arms in there for Draymond.
Well, and the other thing we haven't talked about at all, speaking of Draymond and just shooting inside, is
that sound has to make you smile. It's the sound of another sale on Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big business, so upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere, synchronize online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. Scaling your business is a journey of endless possibility. Shopify has the tools and resources that make it easy for any business to succeed, from down the street to around the globe. Reach customers online and across social networks with an ever-growing suite of channel integrations and apps, including Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and more. Synchronize your online and in-person sales. Gain insights as you grow with detailed reporting of conversion rates, profit margins, and beyond. More than a store, Shopify grows with you. This is possibility, powered by Shopify. So go to shopify.com/hoop, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/hoop right now. Shopify.com/hoop.
we also have to see again what Robert Williams looks like.
That's what I was going to bring up for our last topic here. So Udoka, Udoka basically refused to acknowledge he was even hurt after game 4. He did acknowledge that he asked out of the game today. Udoka was in a truth-telling mode today for the most part. He said that he doesn't think that Robert Williams re-aggravated the injury, but he acknowledges that his knee was bothering him at the end of the game and that he pulled him after he couldn't get over to defend a Steph drive late. He just, all that explosion he had earlier in the game, where he was able to get side to side so well, he didn't have it. So they are not, he will be listed as questionable. I expect him to play, and they'll warm him up before the game and see. Bontemps, as you've been talking about, you've been talking about Robert Williams since January, but this will be another factor. Like, one of the big things we'll watch in the first moments of game 5 is, how's Robert Williams moving?
Look, he was +6 in 31 minutes in game 4, team high, and was the best player on the court for most of the game for Boston, despite the fact that he had a line of 7 points, it's 7, 12, and 4 assists, but he was just an absolute monster inside again. And the Warriors, whenever he was in there, they were like, we ain't dealing with this. We're kicking it out to a 3. Like, there was no even attempt to score on him. And yeah, like, if he's not moving well tomorrow when the game starts, Boston's in a lot of trouble because, as we've talked about a ton, he's the only guy that gives Steph any kind of second thought to shooting the ball when he's in a pick and roll coverage. And the Warriors are going to feel a lot more confident going to the rim if it's against Grant Williams and Al Horford. And if Robert can't go or is limited in some form, they play Daniel Tice. Like, then it's going to be, all right, we can get to the rim and we can score. If Robert's out there, it's like, we're not even going to try. And so, let's see again. The games 1, 3, and 4, Roberts come out flying around right from the beginning. Looks great. Game 2, he was hobbled. Things didn't go well. That's a real bellwether for this team.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody doubts that he will play. It's how effective is he?
Right. That's what he looks like.
And it's a good thing Marcus Smart got to put on that DPOY robe this year, because he will never be the best candidate on his own team again as long as Robert Williams III
as long
is
as
on
he's
that
healthy,
roster.
because
right.
he's been unhealthy a lot.
We have seen, and no disrespect to Marcus Smart, who obviously is one of, if not the best guard defender
and has given Steph a ton of trouble. It just doesn't matter because Steph is incandescent. Like, it's not these shots that Steph's making are just absolutely insane.
Yeah, but we have seen in these playoffs, Robert Williams III is clearly the most dominant defensive player on that roster, and I mean, you could argue in the Eastern Conference.
And that's with him at like 70% the whole time too. Like, when they were destroying teams by 20 points every game for the 2-month stretch before he got hurt, like, he was just an unstoppable menace. Mm-hmm. And you see that in flashes now, and like even in the finals, but he's clearly not close to 100%. Mm-hmm. He might be 70% when he's feeling good even. So, like, yeah, I mean, he's a special talent at that end of the court.
Sub bellwether. Is there such a thing as a sub bellwether? What would be the one step down from bellwether?
Secondary.
We'll think about it. Bellwether Jr. In game 1 and game 3, the Celtics wins. Al Horford was 14 of 19 on 3-pointers. Now, that's extreme. You can't expect him to continue to shoot that way. In the 2 losses, he's 3 of 10. And I'm looking more at the attempts than anything. Yeah. So he's averaging twice as many threes attempted.
Wasn't he 0 for 1 in game 2? Wasn't it?
He was 1 for 4.
He was 1 for 4, and then he was 2 for 6. He was 2 for 6 in game 4.
I'm sorry, I was giving his overall shots, not threes. His overall shots.
Okay.
His 3. You're right. He didn't even take one in game 2. You're correct. I apologize.
You go. Right.
His 3-pointers in the win. He only had 1 in game 3, but he was 5 of 7 overall shooting. So it's not that I think Horford needs to hunt shots or anything, but it's indicative of the Celtics offensive operation.
Yeah.
When the ball is moving, not being turned over. So,
well, and Horford also, obviously, older player, right? There was only one day between games 3 and 4. Get the full weekend now to rest. Same with Robert Williams, full weekend to rest. It's crazy. We were wondering about how
Same with Steph Curry,
right? I mean, full weekend of rest for him. But like, I mean, obviously he looked just fine physically in game 4. But yeah, I mean,
so right now, as I'm talking to you here, I'm wearing in my ears these new Raycon wireless earbuds. They have become my go-to for anything that I need to listen to. They fit really well in your ears. It works when you talk on a microphone. Even though it doesn't look like it should, somehow it hears you. I think my favorite part about them, their battery life is amazing. What Raycon says is that their everyday earbuds look, feel, and sound better than ever, that they have optimized gel tips for the perfect in-ear fit, and the earbuds are so comfortable that they will not budge. They offer 3 sound profiles that you can match when you're listening to, plus noise isolation and awareness mode, so you can choose to be immersed in sound or be able to hear your surroundings when you need to. And like I said, they give you up to 8 hours of playtime and a 32-hour battery life. I go like days and days and days on end without needing to recharge them. And now a bunch of airlines allow you to use your headphones. And I go 4 or 5 hour flights and don't worry about the battery wearing down. That is a real asset to me. And when you do need to charge it, it's super easy. You can do it wirelessly. So that's a huge selling point. With Raycons, you get the same quality audio as the other premium audio brands, and it's also half the price. Raycon says that they have all kinds of stories of them getting lost in rain and snowstorms and still working working afterwards. It's no wonder Raycon's everyday earbuds have over 49,000 5-star reviews. So check out Raycon's wireless earbuds. My guess is that you're going to want to leave them a 5-star review too. Go to buyraycon.com/hoop today to get 15% off your Raycon order. That's buyraycon.com/hoop to score 15% off. Buyraycon.com/hoop.
You know, it's like you said at the beginning, Brian. I mean, it's a fascinating series because Golden State isn't really capable of doing anything different, right? Steph's got to be the engine for everything for them on offense.
They got to lean into what they've been doing is the best. And hope, you always have the Clay or Jordan Poole, one-off moment, but.
Right. And the Celtics throughout the playoffs, like, I am not surprised they're not doing anything different because throughout this entire run, they do what they do. And like that's how they're going to play. They haven't really conformed to anybody this whole run. They've kept playing the same way all the way through. I didn't think that was going to change in this series. And I think for them, they look at these games as if we do what we're supposed to do, we are going to win. It's in our control to win these games. And that is a really interesting push and pull on both sides, where both sides think if we do what we can win. And, it's made for a pretty compelling series so far. And hopefully we get a couple of more. But the one thing we didn't emphasize enough, I don't think, was what Man's point earlier about clutch play, was waiting for one of these games to be close.
Right. You're right.
The Celtics, going back to the start of the season, have been god awful in late and close situations.
Why do you think that is, Bontemps? We've talked about it a little bit, but you know this team better than anybody.
I just think it's the same reason that they can't win games after they win games in these playoffs, right? They just don't. The last thing this team is lacking is the right requisite level of focus at all times. Like, you look at the end of game 4, right? Klay Thompson at this point is not the same player he was before. Draymond Green, not the same player he was before. Mm-hmm. But Jaylen Brown catches the ball in the wing, right on the out of bounds line. Klay knocks it off him out of bounds, gets a turnover for the Warriors going the other way, right? Draymond gets benched. He's been god awful the whole series. He comes in, he gets a key offensive rebound. He sets up Steph for a 3. Like, they know how to play in those moments. The Celtics just don't lock in the way they need to all the time. It's like they have to have their back against the wall. And it's like, okay, now we're going to lock in. We're going to not turn the ball over. We're going to do all this stuff. And at every turn in these playoffs, the few moments the games have been close all season, they've lost just about every time. And so if it's a 5-point game with 5 minutes to go in either direction, massive advantage to me to Golden State. Because they have never proven they could play this way, even when they were good.
Even the quote unquote close win that they had in game 7 on the road in Miami.
Yeah. Why was it
a close win? Right. It was a close win because it was almost the worst choke of all time.
That's like you can't create your own save situation if you're a reliever. You can't come in up 5 and it gets down to 1. Oh, wait a minute.
They definitely created their own clutch situation.
And even when they went 28-7 to close the season, 1 or 2 times they played close games. They played a really great game against Dallas in Boston.
Yeah, Dinwiddie
and Spencer Dinwiddie closed the game out. Like, through that whole run, they were just obliterating people. And in the playoffs, when they've won, they've obliterated people.
Yeah,
when it's close, it's not good.
In one game settings, anything could happen. Like I said, Jordan Poole could score 23 and Steph would only need 20 and they could win game.
But if you're looking at it and you're going Steph Curry on one side and the Celtics on the other side, you're going to be feeling like you're going to be riding Steph Curry in that spot.
Right. So acknowledging that you could have one-off situations. Okay. That's what happens in basketball games. The Celtics really need to play so that they have a lead going into the fourth quarter. They need, and that's problematic.
Well, it'd be nice. It'd also be nice if they could win a single third quarter, like one time. Yeah. I keep going on Daily Wager. I keep saying bet the third quarter, people. Every game, bet the Warriors in the third quarter.
Don't even win. Just play it relatively even.
I mean, they're still, even the last 2 games, they were better, and they still lost by like 7 or 8 points in the third quarter, and they immediately gave up huge run. I mean, it's just this team. It is incredible that we're talking about the Celtics being 2-2 in the NBA Finals when they haven't been able to win home games in the playoffs. They can't win clutch games in the playoffs. They keep getting drilled in the third quarter all season and in the playoffs. It's like, these are all things you look at and you go, these are going to be bad things. And for these guys, it just hasn't mattered. They just keep rolling along.
Well, we're intrigued. So that's what you want in the finals. We'll be talking to you after Game 5 from the floor, and these gentlemen will be joining me before Game 6. We know there's going to be 6. We'll be back in Boston then. Thanks for listening to Hoop Collective, and we will talk to you soon.
Adios, amigos.